Greetings travelers and acolytes of a galaxy far, far away, and welcome back to the channel. With Darth Vader making his presence known more on screen with the recent episodes of Kenobi, we have been going back over our research to really try and get a grasp on his true power. In the comics, books, and video games, we know that Vader's power is fear-inducingly strong, with only a very few handful of people that have ever faced and defeated Darth Vader in combat, Star Wars canon and legends included. And a trend that seems to follow this is that all these people who have defeated Darth Vader don't live long enough afterwards to tell the tale, or they usually had lots of help. See our video on the only 3 people that defeated Darth Vader. However, there is someone who stands alongside Obi-Wan Kenobi and Luke who has actually defeated Darth Vader completely, while doing so on his own, and at the same time nearly bested the Emperor in Force abilities. This person being the one known as Starkiller. Since his debut in The Force Unleashed, he has stapled himself as being a sheer, unrivaled power within the Force, and has completed feats within the Force that we have never seen from any other characters before or since. However, the Dark Chosen One in Lord Vader should have been more than a match for even the likes of Galen Marek. So for this video, we are going to analyze them both and discover what exactly happened, and try to get the answer as to why Darth Vader lost to Starkiller. A short time ago, we did a video breaking down exactly why Galen Marek was so much more powerful than anyone else in Star Wars. For a full explanation, see our video on why Starkiller is so much more powerful than anybody else. But for a quick recap, we uncovered the truth that being not only was he naturally talented in the Force, but because he was trained by Darth Vader directly. In addition to this, it's the way Vader trained him. He was told to never hold back even in the slightest. All Force users, Jedi and Sith, are always taught to hold back in some modicum. Sith usually hold back their power, deciding to keep it hidden and use it in a large burst so that they can deceive their opponents, luring them into a false sense of confidence before exploiting that and destroying their enemies entirely. Jedi, of course, hold back because they believe that the Force is used to guide and teach rather than to dominate and display power. Galen was taught none of these things, as he wasn't raised to use the Force in either of these philosophies. He was an assassin first and foremost, a brute force of nature within the Force itself. The Force to Galen was another tool in his arsenal, just like his lightsaber and his ship. And just like his lightsaber and ship, he needed his tools to be working at maximum efficiency. Vader made sure that he used 100% of his power 100% of the time. The thing about the Force, and especially the dark side though, is that when you use it like this, inevitably it will grow stronger. Darth Bane referred to it as making yourself attractive to the dark side. This meant bringing about unspeakable acts and using the Force to its full extent so that it flowed through you freely like a geyser with no lid. Any opponent who Galen Marek came against was to be vanquished quickly and destructively. These principles though would come back to bite Vader in the end, as we know, when he himself would eventually face Galen Marek. Galen Marek also would do horrific things to himself in order to make himself grow stronger in the powers of the dark side. Despite the pain constantly inflicted on him by Vader, he would do self-destructive habits in order to cause himself suffering and pain so that he could make himself a full vessel for the darkness. In one instance, Galen starved himself for days while chained up until he could use the Force to construct his lightsaber in complete darkness. The thing about Galen is he was never a Sith. He was a pure assassin, and not quite an Inquisitor, but more of Vader's own go-for, a tool that he used to carry out Vader's own personal agendas in a being far more powerful than an Inquisitor. As of course, Vader only had one, where the Emperor commanded many Inquisitors. Starkiller, though, would end up being brought closer to the light when he began to train with Master Ram Koda in the ways of the Jedi. Master Koda would teach him patience and temperance in the Force, and under his tutelage, Starkiller would perform one of the most mind-blowing feats within the Force, something that fans of Starkiller will know quite well: pulling down an entire Imperial Star Destroyer. This was not without its struggles, however, as Galen was unsuccessful in the beginning. Not to mention that the Imperial Star Destroyer was already headed in a downward trajectory. This act, though, mirrored Luke's on Dagobah, as he exasperatedly mentions that it is far too big for him to pull down. Ram Koda echoes Master Yoda and tells him that size doesn't matter and that it is all in his mind. However, unlike Luke, who still doubted the gifts of the Force, Starkiller went all in and kept trying until he dominated the massive structure and brought it down to the planet. Despite making the light side of the Force his ally as well, Starkiller continued to utilize the dark side and made sure to unleash all of this power onto Vader when his revenge was at hand. This being a major contributor as to why Starkiller was able to overcome the Dark Lord of the Sith. Like we have mentioned quite a few times before, despite Vader's awesome power in his own right, George Lucas has stated that he is now only 80% of what the Emperor is. You see, midichlorians flow through someone's flesh and blood, so when that flesh and blood is taken away, so are the midichlorians. Midichlorians aren't like cells or germs despite their similarities. The difference is that midichlorians don't grow back. In one's body, if they lose any cells or blood vessels, they will simply be replenished eventually. Midichlorians, however, don't operate like this, and this is why all Force users have a set count of midichlorians that does not change or alter over their life. So, when one loses an entire limb, those midichlorians are lost forever, which locks someone in a certain potential cap in the Force. With Vader losing all 4 of his limbs and being burned inside and out, he was locked into that 80% of the Emperor's limit, unable to become easily double what Palpatine would have been. The Emperor was born with a naturally high midichlorian count, clocking in somewhere at around 20,000. Just for reference, Yoda hits at around 17,400. So as you can see, Palpatine had no special lineage that we are aware of. He was simply a human born of Naboo. And this ties into directly our argument for Starkiller being so powerful and able to defeat Darth Vader. This could actually mean that although very, very rare, it isn't impossible for someone to be born with a massive midichlorian count without a special lineage, and therefore have a crazy amount of Force potential. This is where we bring Starkiller back in. It is possible that Starkiller is also incredibly high in his own midichlorian count, which puts him on the same potential level as maybe even the Emperor, or perhaps a level of Grandmaster Yoda. Not to mention, as we've seen before in the past, when someone is heavily enraged, Darth Vader appears to be at his weakest, as he is not able to dominate his opponent's mind and hit them with the wave of fear that he is known for. No matter how skilled Darth Vader is with the lightsaber, undoubtedly far more skilled than Galen Merrick. It is this special moment in time with Starkiller being so fully enraged against his master that allows him to beat him. Similar to Luke in Return of the Jedi, as personally on the channel, in my opinion, Darth Vader is far more powerful than Luke was in Return of the Jedi or Starkiller during The Force Unleashed. It is simply this perfect cocktail of rage, aggression, and power in the dark side that has allowed Starkiller and even Luke to best Vader. On an average day though, I think Vader would have troubles with both of these characters, but ultimately would prevail over them. But is their pure power in the dark side, their embrace of the dark side, that has allowed them to conquer him the very few times Vader has ever been conquered. With this now squared away, we can now put a solid theory as to why Starkiller was able to best Vader in their final duel, with him having possibly an insane midichlorian count coupled with the fact that he always uses every ounce of his power whenever necessary. And we know that as of the period of Darth Vader, he does not use his power this way, learning his lesson when he was defeated by Obi-Wan on Mustafar. However, of course, had Anakin not been burned and severed, it would have been a completely different story. It is quite possible that he never would have even trained Galen Merrick and would have never needed him. But assuming he had, there would be no way that Starkiller could even match the full potential of the Chosen One. So, students of the Force, what did you think of this? Does this strike you as a satisfying answer as to exactly why Galen Merrick, Starkiller, was able to best Darth Vader in combat? Tell us your thoughts and theories on this in the comments down below. And as always, my friends, may the Force be with you, and I hope that you have a great day.